the night I learned who he really was. It was supposed to be a typical work gala for my fiancé, Greg. He'd been with his company for years and had worked his way up to a managerial position. These events were always predictable boring speeches, awkward small talk, and overcooked chicken. But I went to support him because that's what partners do. We arrived at the fancy hotel ballroom, and everything seemed normal. Greg was charming as always, shaking hands and introducing me to his colleagues. He'd always been a bit mysterious about his job, brushing off questions with vague answers like, "It's just corporate stuff, nothing exciting." About an hour into the event, I noticed something odd. A woman across the room kept staring at Greg, not in a casual way, but with an intensity that made me uncomfortable. I nudged Greg and asked if he knew her. He glanced over, his face going pale for a split second before he shrugged it off. "She's probably just mistaking me for someone else," he said, brushing it off with his usual charm. But the woman didn't stop. She eventually marched over, and without any hesitation, said, "Gregory, or should I say, Michael? What the hell are you doing here?" The room seemed to go silent. I looked at Greg, no, Michael, waiting for an explanation. His face was frozen, like a deer caught in. "Who's Michael?" I asked, my voice shaking. The woman, clearly furious, wasted no time. "He's my husband." I blinked, certain I had misheard her. But she pulled out her phone and showed me a photo of her and Greg, no, Michael, on their wedding day. My stomach dropped as the truth spilled out. It turned out Greg had been leading a double life for years. He'd married her 3 years before we met and had somehow been splitting his time between us without either of us suspecting a thing. The crowd around us was growing, and Greg tried to stammer out an explanation, but neither of us wanted to hear it. I walked out, his other wife following close behind. We ended up sitting in the hotel lobby together, comparing notes on his lives. Turns out the only thing he was managing was his 2 lives. Needless to say, the engagement and his other marriage didn't survive that night. But at least I left with one thing, the satisfaction of seeing his entire world crumble in front of an audience. Karma, served on a silver platter.